Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Story Time. So, I don't know if this is a very common thing. I know for sure that the Asian goodbye is well known, where you have a bunch of Asians in a group, or you're at like a family gathering, and then you get stuck saying goodbye for like 2 to 3 hours. And if you're a ripe 7-year-old like I used to be, you just like fall asleep on three chairs and a t-shirt and call it a day. But basically, that happened to me today. Just another normal day that I had out. You know, you go out. I had a meeting, so I was stuck at like work and research for a while, and then I right at 8 p.m. I go to pickleball. I play pickleball, and then I'm driving my homeboys home. And the last one is like I got a guy who like just got broken up with, and I don't want to say it was a long time coming, but she just, they weren't right, and it kind of just happened, and there wasn't really a good reason to it, and he's had a lot to think about, and it reminded me of me and my breakup, because you know that you're a great friend who's listening when they're talking about a situation, and all you can think about is yourself, but like genuinely, that is how you relate to people. You reflect on your own experiences, and you, well, hopefully get something meaningful out of them. You don't necessarily have to help the person, but it's just nice to talk and have that shared moment of relatability, because I don't know if it's clear on this channel, despite the fact that I have a deliberate spot for advice, but I don't like giving advice. I don't like telling people what to think. But this is one of those friends where I know that I could talk to him and he wouldn't take it that way, because we share that value of, you talk about something and somebody gives you advice, but you know that you are not that person, and that if you take their advice, you're going to take it with a grain of salt. You're going to be like, okay, I want to try this. I'm going to see if this works for me. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And we just have that mutual understanding, and that is something which I firmly believe is undervalued. But anyways, I surround myself with people that I like, right? And they happen to have qualities that are very similar to me. So that's one of them. Anyways, and without spoiling too much of him and his relationship, because frankly, it's not my story to tell. We just sat in the car and chatted for like 2 hours. I was supposed to drop him off at like 10:30. I did not leave his house until 12:30. So shout out. And it was nice, like genuinely nice to just like talk. And it made me realize that I never really considered the fact that, or it just made me admit for the first time that the reason that I stayed in a relationship so long that I just earnestly didn't like, where I lost respect for the individual, where I was just hoping that they would be better than they were, that I had stayed for so long despite knowing better, is, well, I was curious. I truly and sincerely love learning. And even though I dated this girl for 14 months, and she started doing the drugs and the alcohol, and most importantly, the hypocrisy on who she used to be at 6 months, it made me realize that I stayed for the sake of learning. And he did it too in his relationship, even though, like people who go on Tinder and during the relationship, because girls like dating in twos or whatever the fuck Instagram will tell you. First of all, terrible thing to normalize. If you like look at those reels and you're like, oh yeah, that's me, and and on the other hand, there is also just a problem with Cali behavior in general, which actually isn't limited to women, where people just normalize this very peculiar behavior. Like, hey, let's go, let's go make ourselves more exposed and go out, and that's our way of having fun, and let's always like drink to a terrible point. And you know what, we should take an edible, but when we take this edible, let's make sure that the only way home is our cars, because we were at school. Okay, that might be an isolated experience, but the bottom line was, I've seen a lot of people go off to college and make just genuinely terrible decisions and have a terrible relationship with weed and alcohol, and it's very shocking. Like, I have a friend who's like relying on it for um being social. He's just a very anxious person, and the alcohol loosens it up. But like, there's if you're my homegirls, including my ex and all of her homegirls, they would get liquored up just so they could be liquored up, and then it like wouldn't hit the same, so they just drink more, but their body's gonna handle it, and then they just throw up. Like, why would you just drink to throw up? It's very interesting thing to do. And then it's like a way to get a better high is either to caffeinate or do weed or do all three. And I kept seeing that happen a lot, and that was also very weird. So yeah, that's something for me to think about and just put out there in the universe. But the bottom line was, people make very odd decisions as they grow, and one of them for that one of my friends experienced was a girl who just didn't know what they were doing, had a bunch of guys harassing her on the internet because her friends peer pressured her, and then she just fucking like just didn't stop it. Like you're in control. Like go block them. Like, I don't know if it's the people who are like, oh I don't want to be mean, or I like having the option open, or I like the intention, but like just be honest with yourself. Don't like be half-assed. And one of my goat pieces of advice is that yes, it kind of sucks that somebody doesn't change because they want to change. They're doing it because you're telling them to change, but it also still is meaningful. You know, they're willing to fight for you, and I feel like people don't put enough value on that. It's like, no, I just want the person to be come out of the package and just be ready. And I'm like, that's great. I also don't believe that things are ready by game day, but you know, it's still nice to have somebody change for you and they care. And I feel like that's a uniquely like parenting related situation. But that's true about like coaching too. Like I've coached, and when I give advice and my kids just don't listen, like I'm pissed. I'm furious. And that would suck for a relationship too, where if you're just not getting listened to. And that's exactly what my friend experienced. And I'm like sitting here listening to the car, and I'm like, you didn't tell me? He's like, yeah, I didn't tell you because I knew you'd be pissed about it. Like, you look, you right. And that's a that's a learning point where he was just, yeah, you know, I don't want to be swayed by your words in such a way in which I don't feel like they're my own. Like I want my own opinions and my own thoughts, and I'm personally a very consistent person. And I don't mean that as a flex. Like I might be autistic, but it's like I like food, and I order one thing on the menu, and I like to eat it every single time, and I and I don't change. Or I listen to like the same set of songs on repeat for like a month, like the exact same order, and I love it every time. And I do that seasonally. I used to track it by the month. Okay, this is a weird story time, but yeah, my friends know almost exactly how I'm going to respond before I respond because I process things very systematically. You know, we love to just bring everything back to CS. But yeah, and he was like, I know you'd be pissed at me, so I didn't say it because I wanted to write it out. And that was the moment where he told me, he's like, yeah, I wanted to learn as much as I could because it was his first ever relationship. And I think that's great too. Like, as a guy, I don't know if this is very common, but even if the relationship isn't going ideally, I'm like, I don't really care. Because being in the relationship, I'm like, sure, there could be better. The grass could be greener elsewhere, but I'm like, what I have is pretty good. It doesn't cost me very much, which is actually not true. It costed me a lot of emotional, physical, and financial damage. Like, I just had less time to spend on working out for myself. It cost me sleep. It it cost me emotional damage because, god damn it, I really just could not trust her. And yeah. And if you're saying, well, that's bullshit, that's all your fault because you decided to stay in the relationship, yeah, that's true. But I was genuinely happier leaving the relationship because I started just picking up pickleball and working out a lot more. And then I had a lot more time to dedicate to my studies, like most notably my research. I've really been just churning out research project after research project. And it's been great. And that was my telltale sign that I'm like, wow, my judgment is terrible within the relationship, and the price of curiosity is something which I need to be in tune with closely. And that was something that we could agree to in that car chat. It was just between me and him. It was just like, yeah, I wanted to learn as much as I get from relationships. I genuinely don't regret any of my exes, and it was because of the fact that I was really keen on learning from experience. Like I enjoy learning genuinely, and that's a very common thing amongst my friends. It's that like we you learn a new board game, you learn a new video game, and you're just sitting your ass down, like even optimizing a fucking mobile game like that. I think we were addicted to Clicker Heroes for a good bit. So, and you know, the cyclic Supercell cycle, like sometimes it's Clash of Clans, sometimes it's Clash Royale. Right now we're in Brawl Stars, so there's always just the love of life, which is learning, even if it seems frivolous, that you just don't know when it might be useful. I know that it's helped me get along with my homeboy who's in game dev, and having arbitrary knowledge like blockchain and crypto helped me break into a small circle of people who actually cared about that stuff, that helped me do optimization for our trading bot. And it's just having that proprietary knowledge and that love of learning, I think, is such a valuable skill. And me and my homeboy, I call him like my homeboy because he's literally my day one, known him since kindergarten, and he experienced that for his relationship too. And both of us kind of just like became dumpies, and I've become a dumpy every single time in our relationships because not necessarily I love too hard, but I like experiencing and finding out new things. And frankly, my ex was all over the fucking place. Like she was super against drugs and red 40, and she was super keen on even her dietary cycles and her period. And then, she's picked up hella units, and her sleep started to go to shit. She started to go back on the monster a little bit, or back on the coffee grind, and then she was super interested in work, and then she suddenly hated work once it wasn't novel anymore and less routine. And then I've already talked plenty about the drug stuff, and then she was like super mad that her period is irregular and that she was gaining weight, but she didn't stop and diagnose why she was gaining weight. Like when you're sleep deprived, you start to put on weight, and that's a safety mechanism because it doesn't know when you're going to get proper rest or maybe food, and your body is stressed and your nervous system is on alert. And same thing when you keep putting a bunch of foreign substances in. Like she started getting that smoker's lung cough, which is pretty bad, and she was almost perpetually sick for like a month and a half. And I'm just like, this is just your sign that you aren't sleeping enough, and that you aren't taking care of yourself. And it'd be easier to sleep if you got off your goddamn phone and you didn't always need stimulation all the time, whether that was the novelty of talking to somebody, or always listening to music, or always being on your phone, or always working on something, usually with music. I'm just like, you're always stimulated, and you give yourself no time to rest, and you also pack your schedule end to end, so you don't give yourself any time to breathe. And then you expect yourself to be able to sleep well at night when you also don't exercise. All you do is stand, and you have back and knee problems because the body was not meant to be still. It was meant to move, and it needs to be need to have good static strength as in trying to move, and also good dynamic strength as in moving, in order, and like also like resisting impact, right? Like putting weight on your back versus pushing the weight away. Like you just need to have both, right? And she didn't do that, and I wasn't always mad at her for it, but I was pissed that the solution was seemingly simple, and yes, it was difficult, but she had great work ethic, and she just didn't want to implement it despite being a very smart person. I always valued her for being very intelligent, and I was like, what the fuck, man? So anyways, she's going to Berkeley, so shout out to her, and she's going to be in an environment which endorses behavior like that, so I think everything worked out for the best. But at least as far as I'm concerned, it's just not a healthy way to live. It's unsustainable for me. But I was very curious as to how she was living like that and why, and her motivations. And she seemed to be transparent with me. But it's like, we broke up. Like, duh. And when she was breaking up with me, she was like, oh, you did everything right. Which is a formality, honestly. Like, we wouldn't be breaking up if that was true. But still, she did mean it in the way that was like, I did everything that was asked of her. She valued a man that was very consistent. I've not really made it clear. You guys don't know me. You guys saw me fuck up that challenge. But I do just have this tendency to be particularly stringent or rules-based. I'm not particularly disciplined. Like, I immediately relapsed on, the gooning upon exiting the relationship. So, GG's. But, yeah, it was just something to think about where I'm like, okay, so she's going out and she's partying and she's following a culture, and I asked her, why is she following a culture? Like, why do you feel the need to dress provocatively to match an occasion arbitrarily? I don't know if you ever heard of Deltopia, but that. And she was like, oh, everybody's doing it. Like, everybody's taking shots. Everybody's getting drunk. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because that makes it normal. Because that makes it so you don't develop more gray matter from routine drinking, because the smoking doesn't and the nicotine don't actually matter when it's in your lungs, because everybody's putting it in their lungs. I'm like, that's not how that works. But the lack of judgment from her peers was enough for her to justify the behavior in which she used to be strongly against, and that was because she was in a different environment, and her environment controlled her. So I fell in love with a person at a certain time, and as that person changed to meet new circumstances, I didn't love them anymore. And that was a good context for me too. That I do deliberately curate my environment. I like having a social place where I know my place in it, right? You go to a networking event, you're there to actually talk to people. You go to a coffee shop, some people are there to get coffee, some people are there to work, some people are there just for the background noise, other people are there to meet people and go on coffee dates for the first time. Identifying where I am in that situation really helps me actually break down my world, contextualize, and I'm very stringent about keeping in my lane. I don't know if I've talked about it on this channel, but I'm not Japanese, but I grew up under a lot of Japanese teachings because my grandfather's Japanese, and he married in, and he grew me up to be very particular about not bothering anyone, to say the least. and to also make very due note of my surroundings and who I am surrounded by and what status they have relative to me and how to properly pay respects to them and be considerate, which I honestly lost the plot of. I was a rebellious teen, but eventually came back full circle, and you could call it anxiety. I just call it being socially aware. But yeah, I just am not particularly fond of doing things that don't make sense, like doing things without reason. I've always used reason as a medium to actually control my environment and also regulate my behavior, in which I don't really care if for example, my competitiveness or the fact that I have a six pack is from insecurity instead of from genuine needs for my health, but it still makes me feel good about myself, and it also supports my goals, which is generally being fit, being functional, being able to hopefully help a family somewhere down the line. But getting a little bit off track, back to this car chat, it forced me to reflect, not forced, but made me realize that, yeah, I do things that aren't really the best for me just to satiate my curiosity, such as scrolling reels past like all the informational stuff that you want. And that means you need to take control of it again, right? So the goals for the next relationship is to not only date somebody with similar values to myself, that means integrity, self-consistency, all those good things, but the original circumstances don't change. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it only gets more specific as you reach the top. Like they always do show it as a pyramid. I hope people have heard of like a food pyramid or like the pyramid of wealth, but you start off with like a very broad stuff, like all the necessities, and then you work your way up to get more specific. And for me, that means like in the future, I'm looking for a girl who I can have a good conversation with, that I genuinely like talking to, is physically attractive. And what I mean by that is takes care of their health. As far as I'm concerned, I'm like, if you have good skin and you are actively trying to take care of your health, and you know what you say actually matches what you do in your body. It's like, oh, I'm so fat. I'm like, well, eat less and exercise. And I know that may sound very insensitive, because it is to people and people's struggles, but it really is that simple. And you might have health conditions that make it more difficult, or prior history. Like I can say confidently that it's much easier for me to exercise compared to the average person, because I had a whole history of sports behind it, a lot of positive reinforcement behind sports and bodily autonomy. So, yeah, sorry, not sorry. I come from a place of privilege where I was forced into exercise, but yeah. And if you don't do that, if you're just like, oh no, there's this thing that I want to do, but I'm actually not going to do any of the steps to do it, like my ex, I'm pissed at you. And that was the same way for my homeboy too. Like, he was just like, you know, if these guys are giving you problems, you can just ignore them or delete their contacts, but you didn't do that. And I don't know what's up with this normalized idea of like girls like to date in twos, like to have a backup plan, like they just can't go all in on one thing. But that is such a pitiful way of risk management. It's like people talking about a prenup. I personally am all for a prenup, because I'm like, if I earned it, I should keep it. But then my sister was like, well, what if people actually want support for the kid in the case that you die? And I'm like, you have a will for that. So I might be jaded, but you know, I still, like, for example, if I'm driving my car and I have the airbag in there and I have the crumple zone in my car, I'm not like, I don't want to crash, but I'm preparing for the crash anyway. But I'm hoping that if you're in a relationship, that you are not preparing for the downfall of your relationship, because that means you're expecting it to go south. You should be hopefully fighting for your relationship. Like if you're preparing a backup, you already have given up. But marriage is way different, because it almost has nothing to do with the love, but everything to do with your assets, and you need to secure your future regardless of whether or not your guys' love persists, which is a semantic pursuit. And I don't know if that's a crazy thing to me or not, but like my future and financial security, like my necessities, are going to rank higher than the pursuit of love. And therefore, a prenup is less significant than my future assets, whether or not they're now marital. So, yeah, if you're wondering how I digest that problem without being hypocritical, it's that. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, hope that made sense. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about this car chat. And I put it under story time because I'm like vaguely just following along with what was said in the car. Like, we had a moment of silence. We're just sitting here listening to music, like Rex Orange County, Grand Perez, then Lapid, a bunch of. We love low key just being performative, but it's that unique sensation of it's late as shit, and you frankly have somewhere to be. Like I was supposed to see somebody tomorrow. I'll be hanging out with my first ever ex. Oh, another talking point I'll get to soon. And then we started talking about him and his relationship and the stuff that he deliberately kept from me. And I have another friend who just got back from a cruise, and he loves to fucking pry about this guy. So I'm glad that I got to him first and he could open up on his own instead of that fucking bastard just pestering him. I genuinely don't think there's anything that could be more awkward than sitting in the car together and like you feel like you're slowly running out of oxygen because the AC is off and the car is off and the windows are closed, and you're just listening to your guy tell his other friend who's also this other guy's, I will call him Asian number 3, and I'll call my homeboy, my day one, Asian number 2, and Asian number 3 is pestering Asian number 2 about relationships because Asian number 3 is also in their first ever relationship and the shit is also rocky and he's like just desperate to feel somebody else's experience. But at the same time, this bastard is just forcing him to talk about shit that he maybe would have not wanted to talk about had somebody not brought it up. Like I don't know if this is crazy as a guy, but low key, you talk to someone right after a breakup, you're like, hey, you alright? And they're like, yeah. And that's all you can do. I mean, like, if they don't want to open up, like, it's not your job to force them to open up. Like, you gave them that space to talk, and, like, if they didn't take it, well fuck them. You know, they didn't take it. That's how it is. But, anyways, we talked about that. We talked about the shit that just, like, didn't go well in the relationship. And then you have to start sitting there and, like, you talk about the future. And it's like, how do you know that you're over the girl? And for me, it was like, bro, all my first sexual experiences, like, outside of getting my first blowy, handy, and kiss, and French. I don't know if that's like another step or base or like first fondle titty. Anyways, sorry, I got all that cool stuff, but it was her. Like I lost my virginity to her, and all that shit, and that's just like stuck in your brain. Like I still remember my first kiss like very vividly, and of course I remember the first time that you put it in someone, and that's just something which is hard to forget. And I don't want to go into another relationship and like and we're like getting undressed and I'm thinking, okay, like she used to like it when I stroked it like this. Like no, I want to make a new experience that is unique to me and somebody new, and that's how I know that I'm not ready to move on. And that's something which I'm being honest with myself with. Little story time that I said in the car, but there was this girl that I also met from Berkeley right after my third ex, and it was like maybe 2 weeks after that I got her number. This is following my 2 girls story. This was her, and this is the one that liked my friend more than me. I'll just kill myself. But I somehow told her that like I was recently broken up with, and like she cut things off with me, which I was pissed back then, but that's the right play, and I respect her for it, and that's a good thing for her to do. And that's something which I realize now is something which I should have held for myself, where I should have recognized that I'm not ready to invest in someone new because I haven't cleared out the rubble from my past yet. And it frankly takes time, and for me that's always been getting busy. Like I don't want any downtime like right out of a relationship. And I say this because my friend said like, yeah, I'm like fine, but then during the downtime, like, I get sad because this is the time that he used to spend with her, and I couldn't relate to that more. Like in my downtime, I used to love to call her or text her or go on reels and find reels to send to her, like nice lovey-dovey reels. Or I'd always like find like saved up reels, but like if she was sad or something, I wouldn't send them. Like I'd want the happy reels to be associated with the happy times. And I always like to express this idea that I was always willing to work for the relationship, that life could be difficult and things are going to get hard, and I was always going to be there to be fighting for us. And she didn't fight for me, which is unfortunate, but it's like I can leave that relationship and say I did everything that she asked, and I still felt like I was myself, and I do love providing for people like genuinely. So it came out of place of best interest for us, and I wanted her to be the best version that she could be, but I gave her the comfort in the room to fuck up. And I say this to all of my girlfriends ever, and so exes, but I'm like, I want what's best for you. And if that's not me, that's okay. Like, we're just trying something out. And that's always how I want it to be. And that's what happened. And I've gotten broken up with every time. So if you want to get broken up with, follow my footsteps. But I left that relationship and I was like, I don't regret anything because I tried to be the best man that I could be. I've always been raised around men who just provide for their families and then pass the fuck out and then they repeat. And sure, there's a lot of problem solving involved and it feels like they lack their autonomy, but like that is my pride as a man, is to provide. It's to help people get their careers. It's to help people learn more things. It's to help my friends and hopefully be an enjoyment around them. I like organizing meetings. I like being organized myself. If somebody comes to me advice, I give them earnest advice. And I don't like telling people what to think, but I also am like, I feel like I'm a very objective person. And I like to believe that the things that I have to say at least have some reason behind them and help people think about things and process things in a different way. And also there's a good objective correctness to my major, where you can always judge if somebody's work is right based off of common metrics, right? Like big O. And runtime efficiency and latency. So fun. Memory management. Yay. But anyways, besides the point, after we talked about the future, I'm like, oh, so he thought that once you're over someone, you no longer have feelings for the person. But if you're still thinking about the person, if they're still cluttering your headspace and it's preventing you from moving on, it's like it's preventing you from moving on. And to me, it's always been closure. I talked about this in a past video, but a girl who says like, let's still be friends after. I don't believe that shit. Ever. And I think it was a unique case for him because he and his girl, like, they didn't end off things necessarily badly. Like, it wasn't like a big thing that blew up. It just like she was feeling a certain way and she was falling out of it and she just didn't want to see it through anymore. And that's okay, right? Like, when you date someone, you're just trying to see if you guys work together, and whenever you decide to pull the plug is when you decide, oh, I don't want to fight for us anymore. And there's no shame in that. Like, a lot of people feel like there's shame in giving something up after you've built so much momentum, but I've lost that idea that I can just date anyone and then I can work really hard and I'll make it work and I can get along with anyone. I can get along with anyone maybe as an acquaintance if I fake it, but frankly, I just have certain values for myself. I value that discipline, working hard, what the things that you say are actually the things that you do, actually taking action and taking a good action, right? Because I think skill precedes passion. Like, you need to actually be good at something before you can actually feel good about doing it. And you have all those pieces in play, and that's a standard that I hold on myself. And if I hold it on myself, then I have that ethical platform to say, hey, that you should be doing this too. And frankly, that's not everyone. And I don't want to be here to develop you on your journey. Like, I'm always want to be there to help you, but I can't live your life for you, nor do I want to live your life for you. And it's very normal for me to look at my friends and be like, okay, if I don't respect you as a person, well, shit. I don't respect you as a person, and it's hard for me to be friends with you. And some would say it's very cruel to see their friends that way, but it's my life, and I want to surround myself with people that I want to be with. And the people that I want to be with are the people that inspire me and to be better than I currently am, and also help hold me accountable. It's very transactional that way, and a lot of people feel a very certain way about transactional relationships, but everything's transactional. If you really want to put a label on it, it doesn't really matter. To me, it just means knowing it is paying respect to it. But in my day-to-day, I'm like, no, I just want to hang out with my friends, and they make me happy. And the way that they talk and the values that they have, it makes me happy that we share those. And that's just our commonality. And God forbid, and you can put a label on it, and it doesn't change how I feel about it. So yeah, we were talking about that, and it's like, you aren't really over them until, well, you're over them. You don't think about them anymore. They're out of your headspace. They're in the past. And another great point got brought up where he was like, she says it was in the past, but it's still influencing her present because she's still with these dudes. And it's like, yeah, I want to see the best of you, but you need to give me proof that you are improving. It's like an apology. If you say sorry for stepping on someone's foot, and then you keep stepping on their foot and keep saying sorry, like, it doesn't take the pain away. Like, you're still an asshole. Like, your action need to show that you are actually sorry for something. Sorry is more of like an admittance of, damn, I fucked up, and I'm going to be better next time. And that's what it should be. And that should be something that's implicit, but a lot of people use sorry as a get out of jail free card, and it's just not. And this very last piece is, he didn't end up things badly with his ex. Even if I don't regret my actions, I still am fucking mad at my ex. Like, genuinely just like disappointed, because I thought that she was an amazing person, and she's a shell of who she used to be from when we started the relationship. And I understand why. People change a lot in college. Fuck, we're young. People change a lot in general, but it doesn't excuse the fact that I invested so much time and effort and money, and so did she. And she thought that she knew what she wanted, and I executed on that, and she recognized that I executed on that, and she gave me positive feedback, and that very positive feedback is what drove us to become apart, and she admitted that too. So I appreciate her for giving me closure, but I'm pissed at the fact that her judgment was so bad that it influenced me to become a man that she hated, when she thought that was what we wanted, and that makes me angry. And what makes me angrier too is that my judgment sucked too. Not only because I'm always stuck in this realm where like I need feedback. I need a girl who knows what she wants. And frankly, girls and guys both don't know what they want. It's a very difficult time in our lives. A lot of people need to honestly change their major like shit. And it's a big ask for someone to separate what society wants from them and what they want for themselves, because it honestly isn't always the same. But people can't really tell the difference in their heads, and then their feelings don't match up, and then they get in this difficult limbo realm. And I understand that. And that's what sucks about it, is that even though I can be mad at her, it isn't really justified, because, well, shit happens. You live your life. So, yeah. And then it got me to the point, I'm like, wait, why the fuck am I still friends with my first ex? Because she didn't say, like, oh, let's be friends after. And that wasn't, like, the sole denominator, but, like, man, fuck, I was fighting with her, like, throughout the entirety of high school. Because she thought that we were gonna get back together, because that's low-key what I said when we were in the relationship, but she fucking ghosted me and then didn't communicate with me at all. And I'm like, and I didn't even know if we were still a couple for like a long time. Like it took her like a month to actually admit that, like, oh, like maybe we shouldn't be together. And by the time she did, like, bro, I was moving on. And at the same time too, she was like, as a consistent person, she valued that within my relationship. And keep in mind, I only dated her for like 3 months, which is, however, that's a lot when you're in middle school. And she was very insistent on the fact that I'm like, yeah, you said that we were going to date in high school, that we were going to make it out, that we were going to be different, and like now you're dating a new girl. I'm like, shit, bro, you didn't communicate with me at all. And I tried to communicate with you, and you still didn't communicate with me. And then when you said we're off, I thought we were off, not that we were on a break. And she didn't recognize that we were on a break either, because we weren't on a fucking break. So, and then she's mad at me for dating other girls and not fulfilling my promises. I'm like, you blew up our promises as a couple first. And then you didn't communicate with me when I tried to uphold them, because I frankly didn't want to break up with her. Even though the fact that she ghosted me and she sucked at communicating, like, I still loved her back then. And that was just me. But yeah, and I'm gonna see her tomorrow, and I'm actually really excited to see her because I saw her this summer already, and I love talking with her. And she was like the first person I texted once I got broken up with. Why? Because my ex, got to hang out with one of her exes as a close friend the entire time, but she made me cut off all of my female friends, and I always thought that was unfair. But I just shut the fuck up and took the hit, and now I'm reclaiming my female friends. One of them is in Santa Clara, which is like an hour away from San Francisco. So I'll go and see her. She's nice. And I've been hanging out, like I had to hang out like 2 days ago. Oh, yesterday, no, with some extended female friends. And that was something that I just wouldn't be able to do when I was still dating her because, well, she fucking hated them. And she had no right to, by the way. Her friends are fucking ass. But because they enable her to do the drugs. You know, she actually never paid for them, the drugs or the alcohol or the parties. She did have to pay for the Ubers, though, to Deltopia, you know. Anyways, that's me being salty. But I never really understood why I was friends with her. And frankly, it was just because, and my friend helped me break it down. And it was because we were so young when we started dating and when we broke up and when everything blew up. And we finally reconciled in senior year when we just changed as individuals. And we could just actually communicate and talk to each other and make it clear not only what we wanted but who we were. And now she's like very consistent and honestly a very sweet person who's humble and just down to earth, and she has cognitions now and like so that self-awareness, and she's actually very fun to talk to, and I enjoy talking to her. And we're still friends because I can respect her because she works for what she wants, and she is a very hard worker, and I respect her and what she does, and she's like a first gen, so really like, sticking it to the man getting her education and working to put herself through education. And I don't know where she's gonna end up, but whatever she's doing, I'm proud of her so far, and I'm very excited to see her. But I'll just pass back to my homeboy. Is he was talking about like, oh, should I be friends with her? And he was hesitant. Like he's like, I don't really know. I don't really know if he wanted to still be friends with her, but he wasn't ready to break it off yet. And clearly she wasn't either. And she suggested a break. He said no, but now he's in that limbo realm, and that's something that I've never experienced. And that's where my curiosity ends. So unfortunately, I don't have a great conclusion here because this happened literally today, and I, well, just wanted to put it out there in the universe because I couldn't sleep. It's fucking 4 in the morning, and I thought it was just a bunch of interesting stuff to talk about. So that's our story time today. Hope you enjoyed, and that's about it. Okay, so.